On to our earlier work on China's round-the-clock renewables, we have done a deep dive report on India's clean energy sector. We believe India's electricity sector is going through a generational shift as country look to balance the economic growth with decarbonization. We predict a phase of peak electricity demand shortages to begin, which will lead to about 47 gigawatt of peak demand deficit by FY32. What does it mean? It means the storage-backed renewables or round-the-clock renewables will become a critical solution, but not a sufficient solution, and we believe coal will still matter to the India's power system over the coming decade. India's clean energy, the most unique aspect we found from our work is the round-the-clock renewables is already economical in certain use cases. We estimate India's round-the-clock renewable energy cost at about 27% lower than China on a levelized basis, which we believe is driven by a higher solar irradiation as well as a fully integrated transmission grid. Another unique aspect we found was about potential 400 gigawatt of additional renewable capacity addressable market outside the grid. So this is outside the government-driven grid targets, mostly driven by the corporate and the agriculture sector, which is again more economics-driven rather than subsidy-driven. So this is going to be a demand pull rather than a government push or policy-driven.
So there's going to be a massive expansion in demand for electricity. There is an economical business case to be made for using renewable type energy supplies to fill that demand. But there's also a great deal of demand still for coal and the recognition that at this point in time, at least, the renewables is not scaled enough to be able to fill in that growth in demand. The question is, where does the political imperative lie? Because the idea of where you invest for that future demand supply shortage is key, because what we're hearing is the Indian government is still investing very heavily in coal. So where do their priorities lie, and what does business do about it?
Sure. So if you look at over the last 7 years, 75% of the new power capacity addition in India has been renewable, including hydro. But you're right, the electricity demand has been also growing at a rapid pace, which means this creates the onset of a risk of peak energy demand deficit to start in India. Now, when you look at the options available for the country, there are a couple. Number one is to look at the pumped hydro storage-backed renewables, because the pumped hydro storage takes about 5 to 7 years. It's a cheaper option of storage for India.